Hi, it's me again with Corel Draw Tips and Tricks. Somebody sent me this file first, and then they sent me a Corel file that's a little different, but I'm going to do this one first. And then he wants to cut it out in a certain shape, and he finally got back to me in seeing what he wants to do. So the one I'm doing it for, I made it smaller. And as always, I make a duplicate, but I'm going to take this guy and go to bitmap and convert it to a bitmap, black and white. Now, what's going to happen when I trace it, it's going to miss some of the details. And I'll show you here in just a second. I might even up the detail and see what happens. Okay, it actually worked that time. So it was missing these bars, and they're still not good. So what I'm going to do now is take this thing and left click, right click, and because I put the detail on it, for some reason it puts that line. I'm going to ungroup it. Then I'm going to grab that line and delete it. Now, everything else is kind of like rough, but this is too rough. Whoop. And what I'm going to do, and actually there's two sets of lines there. So let me move this one out of the way. And let me take this eagle and move it out of the way. And you can see that there's part of these lines are still there. And I don't really know what that is. It might be something else. But what we're going to do is we're going to recreate this and make it look a little better real quick. So I'm going to take a rectangle and I'm going to go from there to there, and then I'm going to make it a little longer. And I'm going to go to object and convert it to a curve. And he said he could do this probably, or we didn't really get into it. I'm going to convert it to a curve, but I thought I'd just show anybody. So I selected those two nodes. I'm going to right click and add. So it put one right in the middle. I'm going to select that. I'm going to go down. Now holding down the control button, I'm going to move that up and move this one up. Whoop, I had the other one selected still. Select off of it. Kind of make it symmetrical. Now there's 5 bars. I'm going to delete them. Best way to do it is come off the deal. Now, I'm going to take 2 lines, move it, and start holding down the control button so it's perpendicular. And then I'm going to put that right there, make a duplicate, put it right there. Now I'm going to shift select the other one, and I'm going to go up to effects and blend, and I'm going to blend them 8 times. And what that did, it gave me spacing for my other black part. So now I'm going to take the Smart Fill tool. Well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to group all this together, Control G, so I can get out of the way in a second. And I'm going to fill that in, fill that in, fill that in, fill that in, fill that in. Now that looks a lot better. We might as well, while we're here, go ahead and redo this shape of this item. Now I'm going to nudge that over, and I'm going to just delete my lines, and I'm going to grab this, I'm going to nudge it over to my eagle, and I'm going to nudge it over again and get rid of this part of my eagle. I do not know, so I'm going to have to, whenever you select that and you get a bunch, you have to break the curve apart. So we're going to select these, and you can see my new box is over there, so I'm going to nudge it out of the way, and I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to put this back. And I don't know what happened to those other parts below. Did I not nudge that? I'm going to get rid of that. That's weird that we had those other parts, but they're not really in the drawing. So now I'm going to move this back. And I'm going to take, hopefully this will work, just select it all and fill it in with black. And no, it didn't work. So what I'm going to have to do is take my eagle and move it out of the way. There's those other parts. And I also need to left click, right click. See, those other parts aren't really there. So let's now take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in. So we have that now. Now we can take this, select it all and make it black, and then move our eagle back. And there's a good vector drawing of it. Now to get to his real question, he wanted to create an outline that just kind of conforms a little bit to this. And that's where I was a little bit confused. So this is a little bit difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this together, Control G, and I'm going to group this together and Control G, and then I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to go up the boundary tool, and then I'm going to move that boundary over. Now the reason I kind of grouped that because I didn't want lines everywhere. So now this is a group. Let me make sure. Okay, I'm going to break the curve apart, and then I'm going to group it together to make sure it's a group. Now I can contour it, and hopefully this will work. I'm going to go to Effects. I'm going to turn off my blend docker, go to Effects and Contour. I'm going to contour the outside like 1 inch, see what happens. Too much. And I need to do rounded corners, so I'm going to go 0.25. That's still too much from what he showed me. So let's go 0.1. There we go. Now, what you need to do, so I'm going to break the contour apart, if that's acceptable. I'm going to break the contour apart. I'm going to take these, it's got several outlines. I'm going to right click no outline. So that way when you cut this out, well, it still says several outlines. I'm going to move this over and I'm going to turn it red. Now, if that's acceptable, and you can play around with the parts, but what I would do if I was going to engrave this, let's make it bigger. Well, that's probably too big, but it gets the point across. I would run this in 2 jobs because I don't know that there's not any outlines in that line. We can take this and we can left click. Let me move my outline. Let me change my nudge factor. See how tall this thing is. So it's like almost 7. So I'm going to make my nudge factor 8. And I'm going to take that and move it out of the way. Now, if we take this and if we left click, there are no lines there. But it says it's several outlines. So what I would do is that we nudge, I mean, also I would go up here and break this curve apart because there's a couple of lines. Go up here and break the curve apart and just delete those other lines. Just kind of look, make sure there's none others. Now, I would group this together and I would run that as a raster job. And then without doing anything, I would move this up out of the way and I would run this as a vector job and cut it. That way you, just in case there is a line in there, well, I also messed up the veteran, but he can fix that. Let me do this. Let me see if it's still there. Yep, see, it's still there. So in that case, whenever that happened, let's look and see if the Navy's gone too. Yep, the A's of the Navy are gone. So what you could do in this case, we're like 10 inches. So I'm going to make it 11 inches. And I'm going to take my Smart Fill tool. I'm going to fill that in, nudge it over. See, this way I'm going to get those A's. This is probably only going to happen in this part. Now what I'm going to do is break this apart and grab our Navy and delete it. See, that spot was actually there. It just, okay, it was part of the other part. Ungroup it. And then I would take this veteran break it apart because we want the stars. You see there's actually double lines there. So then I could take, well, you know what, we need to take our see there's double lines there. But see, that's one reason, and see, I don't understand what that is, but that doesn't really have any play in the picture. I'm just going to delete that. So we have all this. I'm going to select all this and make it black. And then I'm going to smart fill my eagle, put it back. And then I'm going to move my navy back and my veteran back and Control G to group that. And if you remember, well, I must have moved it. So just remember there still could be some lines in there. And so I would nudge this out of the way, engrave that, and then move this off your page. And if you're nudging, you're going to put it right back. And then that will cut out that shape. I hope that helped a little bit. Thank you for watching.